Good night, Mrs. Schindler, and thank you so much for this interview for Enlace Judío. What I want to know is, how do you feel being part of the history?
I feel, of course, very honored to be part of the history, but I feel a great responsibility at the same time. Because like I shared down there, anti-Semitism has been with the world for centuries, for millennium. And we see it now rising again today, just with when I was in Jerusalem, a bombing of a studio and then a bus in the Galilee, the terrible cartoon that the New York Times portrayed of our wonderful Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Donald Trump, the greatest president we've ever had toward Israel, yet the hatred that spewed out of that New York Times newspaper was straight out of Nazi Germany. And then living in San Diego, the precious rabbi of this synagogue near us, who was shot and his congregant murdered in front of him, trying to save his life. These things are huge signals, because the synagogue in Poway is one of the most peaceful, conservative, least expected area where you would think something this atrocious would happen. And the world needs to wake up now, get involved, speak out, and do whatever they can to stop another genocide, to stop another Holocaust, to prevent anti-Semitism from spreading.
How did you feel when the film went out and you realized you have the same last name, and you started digging about the relationship between you and Oskar Schindler?
In the movie theater, when we first saw it, we about fell out of our seats because there were so many correlations. And everything was true except one scene where the Nazis were sitting at the train station on a hot day with ice cubes in their glass, and they didn't have ice cubes then. But we realized if there is a connection, we wanted absolute proof, which we then received from the family in Czechoslovakia. We had not known that there was a relationship. We didn't even know about Oskar Schindler, because after the war, the Allies confiscated the family home and the Schindlers became refugees. But amazingly, not one member of the Schindler family died during World War II or was even wounded. In fact, their lives were spared and they were brought to the United States of America through the kindness of an American sergeant, an ally, an enemy who befriended them and gave them refuge and brought them to Texas and then to California.
And what is your connection? How come you have a connection?
I married into the family, and when we got the records, we saw that our uncle was related to our uncle, and through that descendancy, and because we had the family genealogies, we had the absolute proof. And what I wanted to say is that not one member of the Schindler family died during the war, and we attributed that to the righteousness of one man, Oskar Schindler, that his goodness brought blessing upon the whole family. And we didn't know about his heroic actions. It was mostly the survivors who wanted to give testimony of what he had done. It's only when the movie came out, and Oskar was never made a hero in his own country of Germany. He was often spit upon and ridiculed and called a Jew kisser, because anti-Semitism didn't leave at the end of the war. So this is why he went to Argentina. This is why he went to Israel, and Israel became his passion, because there he was with his children, his workers, his beloved true family.
And what was your feeling the first time you went into Yad Vashem the garden where are all the names of the, I don't know,
The righteous,
the
avenue of the righteous.
Yes. What was your feeling?
I was so proud and honored. In fact, I have descendants of those trees, his tree, he and Emily's tree, a National Geographic photographer who was there at the time Oscar planted the tree, was also had a hobby of being a gardener, and she took some carrot pods, took them home to California, planted them, and grew 6 trees, 3 of which I now have in my home, of the actual descendants of his tree. So I love the Avenue of the Righteous. I think it's a great testimony to those few people who did make a difference.
Well, thank you so much for this interview, and I will send you all the program that has been made. I will send you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so impressed with your Holocaust Museum. You have done an excellent, effective memorial exhibit, and I believe it will change people's lives and help them speak out when they need to.